All right, joining me now is Richard Hosey. Sir, thank you so much for joining us on Detroit Next.
Thank you for having me here.
Let's talk development. So you are involved in some pretty big projects. The Fisher Body plant has been coming together over a couple of years. You're taking this old dilapidated factory and making housing out of it, right?
Yes.
Let's just go back to the beginning. How did you even decide to do this in the first place?
So 25 years ago, I was down in New Orleans, and this was a kind of a standard process of taking large factories and warehouses and cotton mills and turning them into housing as repurpose it. And so I've had it on my mind. I wanted to see, one of these larger buildings being done, and I just really like the Fisher Body factory. And so I was thinking about it. My partner, Greg Jackson, was thinking about it. We got together and said, "Oh, we're both thinking about it. Let's do it."
And just, I mean, it sounds like an easy decision to make. And now here we are. How many years later? When did you get started on this?
So we first talked about it in 2018. And we got it under contract in maybe 2021. So it's still been 4 years of working through the process of under contract to construction.
Walk me through some of the challenges that come with, renovating a large industrial site like this. When it comes to, the actual physical construction, but also like the financing, like what has been the toughest thing as you guys have embarked on this?
Yeah, so the financing tends to be one of the toughest parts. There's obviously the logistics of large scale construction, but it's construction scales, right? So the same thing you would do for 20,000 square feet, you're doing most of that for 600,000 square feet with a little bit larger pipes. But so Detroit does not have a very strong banking market. So inside the city, particularly, even outside the city, it's not the same as, say, Chicago, New York, where there's 10 banks competing. So here, there's actually, you're kind of wooing in the banks. And when you get to a larger project, you often need more than one bank.
So what is it about Detroit that is seen as risky by banks and investors?
Well, so originally, we had a very strong split between our suburbs and the city, particularly, say, pre-2010. And so I found personally when I was financing the Broadview Tower that people would call and say, "What do you think about Detroit?" And they called the people that they knew, and they were outside the city. And so people would go, "Oh, I never go there. It's a bad place. It's a bad investment." There was a lot of that. So that broke down. So now, but there's this overall resistance as well still to being in there. Second, banks traditionally have this Community Reinvestment Act, the CRA, and our CRA is actually split. So if you're in Chicago, then you can go into deep suburb Chicago, and the CRA is still picking up. So you can move out 20 miles, and that still gets picked up. And the areas that fit CRA need best tend to be in the city. So there's a federal requirement of investing a certain amount of money in Chicago by every bank that does business there every year or every 3-year cycle. And it's a big number. So it gives people this reason to be there in the first place. Our CRA somewhere, I believe around 2000, got split such that Oakland County is actually separate. And
Wow.
so their CRA is many multiples of what's needed in the city. So there's not this push to actually be there. So when I financed the Broadview Tower back in 2010, I used up the bank's 3-year requirement of CRA just on half of that deal. So so you don't have this federal push. It has to be something where people want to be there, because our CRA is so small inside the city.
Wow.
Because all our banks are on a big beaver.